Yo, what up? Toshi here. With great power comes great responsibility, which is definitely not what Silverwolf told me. It's seriously hard to believe that Bronya went from this to this. The glow up is real. In all seriousness, the damage ceiling has recently been raised. Here's how Silverwolf hacked her way to the top of the damage charts. We essentially have to figure out why exactly the whales are having a field day with this character. You see, in the previous video we did talk about Silverwolf and we went over everything she does to a T. The value she provides to not only the team comps she's in, but her own personal damage. But what if I told you she has even more damage than we previously thought? Let me explain. You see, Silverwolf not only reduces the resistances of the enemy, but she puts the weakness on the enemy. So if the enemy didn't have quantum weakness already, she would have had put that on the enemy. Assuming maybe you have mono quantum, or Silverwolf gets the quantum element from your team comp. So essentially, she's not only boosting her team, but she's literally boosting herself. And whenever Silverwolf uses her ultimate, she gets tons of value because she shreds the target's defense by a massive amount. And it's not just for 2 turns like Pela, but it's for 3 turns. And then after she shreds the defense, she thus does a large chunk of damage. The multipliers are high enough to be considered as a single target damage dealer. You can kind of compare this to a character like Seele, which we'll get into later in the video. And while it's no surprise I say this all the time, light cones and Honkai Star Rail have tons of value. Comparable to weapons in Genshin Impact, your weapon in Honkai Star Rail is going to give your character not only more base stats, more damage overall, and make it to where you have an easier time building your character, which will in turn give you more other stats you can put on that character. Being able to get some free crit rate with a light cone is no joke. That allows her to crit more often, which thus means more damage. And being able to put a damage bonus onto the enemy not only means she provides damage for the team overall, but she also provides damage for her own self. Now, while Eidolons are overall weaker in Honkai Star Rail, the E6 for Silverwolf actually does way more than you could imagine. Now, while Silverwolf has some very good Eidolons, the only ones that increase her own personal damage, thus making her much more of a DPS character, or a sub-DPS we could say, or maybe even a main DPS, is her Eidolon 4, which increases her damage whenever there is debuffs onto the enemy, and then her Eidolon 6, which increases her overall damage up to 100% if the enemy has 5 debuffs. With Silverwolf being able to abuse the overpowered quantum set in the game, and with her being able to essentially allow Seele to abuse the quantum set as well, because she would put the quantum weakness on the enemy. So what you essentially have is a one-man army. This character is simply overloaded and has too much power baked into her kit. She can function by herself and doesn't really need any teammates. Well, in the sense of just how her kit performs. You see, when you compare her to a character like Seele, Seele gets much more value whenever you have characters that allow Seele to do more damage. You see, as a DPS character, you need not only a support, you might need a healer or a shielder. You need a lot more allies to bring out the full capabilities of your kit, and Seele is no exception. But how can a debuffer simply do more damage than the strongest single target damage dealer in the game? You see, whenever Seele uses her ultimate skill, she not only gets the massive amount of damage from the multiplier of said ultimate, but she also enters the resurgence state, which gives this extra bit of damage on top of the fat multiplier she has on her ultimate already. So that in turn gives her the strongest single target hit in the whole game. But the problem is Seele doesn't really have the best constellations in the game. I think Seele is one of the best E0 characters by far, but her constellations are pretty bad. They don't really add much value to the character and there's no justification for maxing her out. You see, while she does have one of the strongest, if not the strongest light cone in the game by far, because not only are you getting free crit rate, but you're getting tons of crit damage as well. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Well, Toshi, what if you simply just use Seele and Silverwolf together? Wouldn't Seele then have much more damage than Silverwolf? Now, you bring up a very good point. You see, Silverwolf boosts the team comp capabilities with the damage amplifications she provides. You know, the defense shred, the resistance shred, and the damage buff from her light cone, if you have the 5-star version that is. But since this character is able to do damage because, well, she puts the debuffs on the enemy first and then does her own personal damage, while having some of the best damaging Eidolons in the game.
How? How did did they think that was okay to even put it in the game? I'm so sick of this fucking company. They're trash!
Which further gives her a massive increase in her overall damage, while being able to do more than double the damage than a E0 version of the character if you have her maxed out. She is just going to be a stronger hitter than Seele when you max out both characters. How can a support character essentially have power crept the best DPS character in the game? You see, every character in the game does damage if you build them right. If you give them the relics, you give them the light cone, and you level them up all the way to 80, you will essentially have a character that performs pretty well. You see, in Genshin Impact, Eidolon is a very strong character at C0. But when you max out the character all the way up to C6, you essentially have the strongest damage dealer in the game. You see, free-to-play have nothing to worry about. Most of you are probably not going to max out a character. You want new characters over duplicate characters. So for the whales, I would say this is a scenario of pay to lose. I think maybe given her current power, we should probably take her from the Nihility path and just go ahead and throw her in the Hunt path, because she pretty much functions like a Hunt character. Now, in all seriousness, if you are a free-to-play, I don't really suggest you going for copies for this character. I think as an E0 standalone character, she functions better than any other character. But where it stands currently, if you are a whale, having a E6 Silverwolf is going to allow you to do much more damage than an E6 Seele. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, and I really thought about maxing out the character someday. Now, what if I told you E6 Silverwolf with a free-to-play light cone is out-damaging an E6 S5 Seele? Now, as much as I love the character and I think she has had a very nice welcome to her first day in Honkai Star Rail, she has brought about a very interesting power dynamic in the game currently. I'm gonna say, I'm a little worried about the future of Honkai Star Rail, all because of the release of Silverwolf, but this only makes it hard to skip the character. Now, while her E6 is broken AF, you don't really need to max out the character if you are free to play. I wouldn't worry about it, because an E0 version of Silverwolf gets the job done and more. You see, in the previous video, we mentioned she can literally buff every single character in the game. Hook gains tons of value from Silverwolf. Clara, a team composition with Clara thus does much more damage because Clara does most of her damage from single targets with her counterattack. And you see Silverwolf further boosts the damage of Clara because of the defense shreds and the resistance decrease that she provides. And even Arlen actually gains a lot more value because of the release of Silverwolf. Now, it might not be as much as other characters, but he is better overall. Now, I can only imagine a team comp in the future where you're using Seele as a supporter for, Silverwolf. Maybe because you want Silverwolf to proc the break effect, then you want Seele to get the toughness bar of the enemy reduced. Yeah, that's right. I said support Seele. I stream daily on Twitch, twitch.tv/Toshio. The link will be in the description. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day.